Good evening, good evening, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. WeatherBrains, episode 1025, 1025 for the 8th of September, 2025. And it's a special edition of WeatherBrains, and that most of our participants are together tonight in the same room. How about that? This is the week of the National Weather Association annual meeting in Huntsville, Alabama. I was there yesterday. I will be back by tomorrow. I was not able to go today, but most of our Weather Brains crew, they are at the NWA annual meeting. So most of it will be originating from that. We do this every year. Every year, the NWA meeting is in typically late August, early September. And the cool thing about it, it's like a family reunion. I mean, everybody in the weather world is pretty much there. Although this year, a lot of our friends with the National Weather Service could not attend for budgetary reasons. But again, the crowd was still great, and we had a marvelous time there yesterday. But do we even dare bring them in? Oh, let's try. So they are gathered together at the Von Braun Civic Center in downtown Huntsville, which is the site of the conference. And, the cool thing, I go to these things to learn, and, they get me on these panels and everything, and I'll get up there and wave my hands and talk real loud and say stuff. But I like to learn from people because there's some people at these things a lot smarter than me. And if you don't learn something every day in this business, you got a real problem. So, but anyway, we will have an array of all-star guests from the weather world. So I was on a panel yesterday, which was really interesting. It was a national IWT, Integrated Warning Team meeting. This involves emergency management, private sector, and the National Weather Service, and broadcast, and streamers. And this is the first time the streamers, the digital folks, were really brought into the mix. And so together in one place, we had a fascinating mix of people. In fact, we streamed it live on the Weather Brains YouTube channel here. You can go back and watch it from yesterday. But we had, I was up there with Ryan Hall and Max Velocity. Those are the two largest YouTube streamers of weather content in the country. They have millions of followers, and they have more audience than the Weather Channel or Fox Weather for these national events. And so we kind of brought them into the mix, and we think it's important for them to be a part of this. Listen, the way people get weather information, it's radically different today than it was 10 years ago, 5 years ago, or 1 year ago. And so they brought me up there because my toe's in both waters. I'm still a traditional broadcast meteorologist on network television. Ron Burgundy. My home smells of rich mahogany. But we have the new digital Alabama Weather Network, and so. But I thought it was a good discussion, and we really had a good dialogue, and we had no fistfights, we had no brawls, we had no chairs being thrown. I thought it was good. And again, if you want to go back and watch it, and really, if you like weather, I think you'll find it pretty fascinating having that whole group up there. When we had an earlier session that involved Ben Luna from Tennessee Valley Weather, we had a guy from Nashville Severe Wex, the group that does such a good job up there. But anyway, it was interesting. So just go back and look at under live for the Weather Brains YouTube channel, and you'll see that was broadcast yesterday afternoon. But it was typically on Sundays at NWA. It's the broadcast workshop for broadcast, and again, that is changing so much.
What
We need to
is
kind of
our
rework the
laptop?
name, maybe to I don't know, just
I'm already in.
weather communicators or something. I don't know. But then it gets more into the science end of it today and tomorrow and Wednesday. And again, the weather world, it's large, but it's not. It's almost like a little family reunion. I got a chance to see some people last night. Goodness gracious. Some of the old timers were with Bob Bear. And of course, Bob is from Huntsville. Bob's a longtime television meteorologist. And Bob had us over to his place last night. Got a really nice place on Lake Gunnersville, and got a chance to see my friend Dave Brown from Memphis. He's a Memphis legend. Of course, Dave is retired. Mike Nelson from Denver. Goodness, it was just an all-star cast of old weather warriors. All right, let's go to the Weather Brains crew live in Huntsville, live in Huntsville. Can you hear me?
Tighten up, tighten up. Act right here, act right. Oh, I got to turn this down. Excuse me,
We'll
caller.
get the
Turn down the
technical
radio, please.
bugs worked out here. But I'm hearing my voice coming back from somebody's channel.
I need to get to.
See, this is the pre-show. This is the magical part of the program where we do things like this. We take it right down the tubes with strange echoes.
This
and
is where
strange
Bill
noises.
curses.
We can still hear you through that.
Right.
This is
So
the
I'm
least
hearing
magical
somebody
part of
on. Like I've got James and Bill, and I'm hearing audio coming from both of you.
And
I
sitting
think,
for Pedro Bourbon. Manny Mota.
So every one of you guys, every one of you, give me a mic check. Give me a mic check.
It should only be one mic, and that's this MacBook Pro right here.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me?
Basket of warm kittens.
Yes.
I'm on AirPods, so I should work okay, except I hear myself coming back over Bill's
We
MacBook.
mix minus. We don't have mixed minus.
Okay.
I've learned one thing last 3 months. It's been mixed minus.
Yeah. When
important.
James Adelot is talking, I'm hearing like a double version of him.
Let me then get these AirPods.
Sorry,
How's that?
James.
Is that better? I just talk loud into that mic?
Yes.
Okay.
That's.
I hear you double. Once is enough.
So my mom's.
My little Mac.
I think what's happening, there was a little latency with the ear pods, and we're hearing, and it was weird, but now it's all clean. So
Get that a lot.
and it's y'all's show here. So once we get started, it's all you. Take her away. Do we have any fist fights or brawls today?
No bar brawls, anything. It was a lot of kumbaya, James.
Let me check AI and see if it tells me if we had any fights.
It'll tell you did, so we can't trust it.
Reality.
But
So I'm going to slip in tomorrow afternoon, and then I'm going to throw out the first pitch at the Trash Pandas game tomorrow night.
What a great.
I'm going to. I hope this catcher, whoever's back there, I hope this guy's ready to ice his hand down. All right.
I was going to say, James, you're gonna bowl him over. Hey, James,
This guy.
When I threw out the first pitch at a Memphis Redbirds game, do you know who caught my first pitch?
No.
Albert Pujols.
Wow, that's slightly impressive. I actually believe you.
No, it's really true. It's really true.
Wow.
I threw him a 40-mile-per-hour fastball.
Dang, heater.
That's all you got. 40. That's all you got.
What do you got, Span? How much can you give him?
I think I can throw 75.
No, I don't believe
Kilometers per hour.
I think no. I know what this catcher. The catcher's going to think. Oh, it's some elderly man. This elderly man is up there. He'll have to stand at the edge of the mound and toss it underhand. No. My foot's on the rubber. I'm pushing off that thing, and I'm bringing some heat.
Yeah,
You need some.
they don't know you do CrossFit like 3 times a day, do they, James?
No, the only mistake I made, I threw one pitch at a Barons game down here, and I tried to throw a curve, and that was a bad mistake. Just throw the heater. Throw the heater. That's all you need to do. Throw the heater.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I figured you'd throw a slider or something, James. You're gonna be a big question tomorrow night, James.
It will be. My Uber driver was excited about Alabama weather.
Listen at this, man.
When we finally got here after a lovely night in Corinth, Mississippi,
At the Troy Kimmel International Airport.
Troy Kimmel International Airport, our Uber driver from Huntsville Executive Airport down here to NWA was pumped up about Alabama Weather Network. So
He said
Yes.
James has his own weather channel now, James.
right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. No, it's good. And I'm here in Studio B. Bill, I actually have a sign on my door now that outside the studio that says Studio B. I feel official now. We've had the sign on Studio A.
And said it wasn't a very good look for you to have this fake studio. I liked your response.
Oh boy. So,
Somebody
all
can.
right, let's see what we got 30 seconds and we'll start the show, and I'm going to turn it over to you guys. So,
I'll cram.
the floor belongs to you.
We got some great guests lined up, James.
I know you do. I know you do. And tomorrow when I'm, tonight I'll be kind of busy doing things, but tomorrow when I'm driving to Center Elementary School and from there to Huntsville, I'm going to be listening to this show. I learn more by listening to it the next day because I get kind of distracted since I'm working here. But let me get the recorders going here. Stand by. All right. Track 1 and track 2. And I'm going to mute you guys for just a second. And here we go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You're listening to WeatherBrains. They're kind of a big deal.
Kind of a big deal. That's Bill Curtis. How many weather podcasts get Bill Curtis to do the intro here? The Bill Curtis. Welcome to WeatherBrains, the weekly show for weather geeks, dweebs, nerds, dorks, and weenies. This is episode 1025. This is for the 8th of September, 2025. And if it's early September, you know what that means. You know what it means. It is the time for the National Weather Association annual meeting, which is in Huntsville, Alabama, which means that most of our WeatherBrains folks are gathered together in the same room at the same time. And really what's interesting, we did this earlier in the year in the same place in Huntsville at Barron Weather, but they're down at the Von Braun Civic Center, where we're going to turn the floor over to our panelist, Bill Murray. I'll let you unmute, and I'm going to turn the floor over to you, and I'm going to sit back and enjoy this show. So go. It is all you, Bill.
I didn't even know we were muted, James. So thank you for alerting me to that. But I've got Jen Nairmore here with me tonight.
Yeah.
And Troy over here. And James A. is one of our wranglers, James. But we've had the best time. I think, oh, look at that automatic focus thing. What is that about?
Ooh,
That's
It's amazing what they'll come up with next.
that's kind of scary.
makes you kind of dizzy.
But of course, it's been a great annual meeting, and of course, Janice Bunning, who's the executive director of the NWA, is with us. And Janice, under trying circumstances this year, you still pulled off a great annual meeting.
Thank you. We're very pleased. We have about 350 attendees and a wonderful crowd. The feeling is just energetic. It's a thriving, exciting crowd. So we've seen more students this year.
All right.
Of course, our government numbers are down a lot. Probably about 180 people down, but all the other sectors we've seen an increase in. So we've had great sessions. It's been fun.
Yeah, the presence of the students has been really prominent,
It has.
and they've really stepped up.
They have. We've had a wonderful, well, we always have great students here, but the numbers have increased significantly over last year. And you've been to meetings for years, and years gone by, we'd see 80 to 100 students in the room. And it was so nice just to see them all walking down the hall and interacting. And it's a great opportunity for them to network with professionals from all aspects of the weather enterprise and emergency management and other. We've had people here who are geographers, GIS people are here for the first time this year, and just a host of people. It's fantastic.
Now, Janice, this is the 50th anniversary of the NWA, and we're going to be talking about that a lot in the next few minutes, but talk about how significant that is to you as the executive director.
Well, it's very significant. I've read all the governing documents of originating documents for the National Weather Association. When you consider it was 1975 when it was formed, I think we have carried out the mission and their vision quite well, and we're still carrying that on. And to be someone who's, leading it from the business side, I'm thrilled. We're still around and doing so well. So our charter members are some of our most dedicated members. they pay their dues every year. They are wonderful to talk to. I will talk to several in a year and just hear so many great stories. So it has that feel that every time you walk in with friends, no matter what your level of experience is.
And talk about last night with Bob Barron, Janice, and talk about Barron's sponsorship of this event and the other sponsors, because they're so important to the organization.
They definitely are. We couldn't do this without our sponsors and exhibitors. And Barron is a gold level lanyard sponsor this year, but Bob Barron put on a fantastic party last night to celebrate, how far we've come in broadcasting. And it was unbelievable. And
Law enforcement was involved, Span, I think, after you left.
I finally
Yes.
party where the police have been called. And it was because of the fireworks, and the fireworks show is just unbelievable is what I could say. It was incredible. But the most exciting part was watching Bob, because Bob has been so dedicated to his career and to keeping people safe. And just to see him so supportive and so happy in that, echoing through our members, whether they've been longtime members, short-term members, it was just wonderful.
And James, you were called to come and welcome everybody with Bob. So talk about what that was like.
Well, Bob, for some reason, picked a bunch of us old timers. And I think I was one of the few that's actually still working. But goodness, there were some legends that he had out there, like, goodness. And so, but the fun part for me was the fact that we got there before the buses got there, everybody coming in. And we had a chance to talk, and we really told some stories. And I learned some things about these other folks that I didn't know about. Their early days in breaking into television weather. Understand, most of us started doing television weather before Janice was born in the 1970s. This is a long time ago. And so we've had this incredible journey. And for most everybody out there that Bob had among the old timers group, we've been doing this for over 45 years. I'm at 47. And it was just a treat. And I think we were all just re-energized. And like Janice says, these meetings are like a family reunion. The weather world, it's large, but it's really not. And to be able to see everybody and spend some time with them, it's just an absolute joy. So it was good, Bill.
Yeah. So Jen, you wanted to say
I
something, so
do.
jump in there.
Well, just want to say I am no longer nervous. It was just a
Yeah,
week.
this is your first
It's my
time.
first time here, and it was last week. I was nervous. I'm like, I don't know how this is going to go. They've got me signed up for all these things. And I just personally want to thank Janice for her help and just welcoming me with open arms. It's been great. And it does feel like friends and family. And so I will be back next year for sure. I've really, really enjoyed myself.
I don't know what took you so long, Jen.
I don't know, but better late than never.
Well, anything you want to else talk about, Janice? Any important? I know the roadmap is important going forward, and we're going to talk to President-elect Kim Runk in a few minutes. There's a lot of amazing things happening. We're going to talk to Becca, but anything you want to point out that we should focus on?
Well, I think, we're seeing some new additions to the weather world with digital meteorology, and the session that we had here on Sunday was very good. And we are finding new ways to reach even more people to communicate safety and forecast information. So I want to say that the people out there and the public are being well taken care of by everyone in the weather enterprise. And it's very exciting to get together with all these great minds. And the NWA does a good job bringing all those people together. And we have some incredible students coming up, and even young people who are in high school. We had 2 high schoolers here that are coming up. So the outlook for the weather world is good from the scientific side, and I think also from the entrepreneurial and creative side. So
Yeah,
exciting time.
we're in good hands. There's no question. Well, thank you for everything you do. How many more years till you're the record holder for executive director?
I don't know, because
Two, says Steve Harnett. So
I was not even keeping track of that, and so I don't,
I figured you weren't.
Yeah.
But we'll keep track of it for you.
okay, all right.
I know you were handpicked for this position and you have done amazing things, Janice. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, I couldn't do with all of you. We've had a lot of support here and all of our volunteer members. So thanks, everyone, and hope you all come next year. We haven't picked the site yet, but we'll announce it when we do.
Well, let us know as soon as you can. Maybe we'll have a Weather Fest next year. That would be fun to
Would be
do
fun.
again. We've missed doing those, but thank you, Janice
You're welcome.
Bunning, for everything. Thank you for all your help. James, I came totally ill prepared for this event for tonight because, we've been a little busy back in Birmingham and
Little.
everybody looked at me and said, "What are we doing?" And I said, "I have no idea."
But it came through.
And Janice pulled us through.
She made it happen. She's good. She's good.
So thank you.
Well,
Janice.
thank you all for all you do.
That's
All right.
outstanding. We'll go and make the party happen.
Okay.
And make sure law enforcement isn't called.
As they were last night.
Go viral. It might not be a bad,
Janice, make sure you put the bottle of good gin aside for Steve.
That's number one. Okay.
I'm going to welcome to the chair next to me, the executive director who immediately preceded Janice, and somebody who's very near and dear to me because, James, I don't know if you remember, but I was called to Louisville in, I think, 2006.
2008.
Photographic memory. And I was sent by the Birmingham CVB and they said, "You're a card carrying member of the National Weather Association. Why haven't you brought it to Birmingham?" And I was shaking in my boots when I was in front of the council and this gentleman telling them why they should bring their annual meeting to Birmingham. And Steve, you never told me till this week, what was your response to my appearance?
Well, I didn't know who you were.
Yeah.
Who is this man?
You came with Jim Stefkovich.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
also-
You did know him though.
I knew Jim, yeah.
And you heard of this span guy.
I heard of him.
Okay.
I heard of him.
Yeah.
I don't know where. James, I missed you when you were up here. I'm very disappointed.
He was like,
I'll be back.
he'll throw
I'll
an
be back tomorrow.
tomorrow.
Oh.
Are you going to the
I'm-
game?
we'll be gone. Going back to North Carolina tomorrow.
Okay.
Oh boy.
Now he has a great shirt on tonight.
Yeah.
James, you got to see
You
this.
got to read this now.
Can you read it, James?
Being 20 in the 70s was more fun than being 70 in the 20s. That's a great shirt.
Oh, great.
That's a great shirt.
Oh, it's wonderful. It says it all, doesn't it, James?
Boy, we resemble that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you heard Bill Reed, the dulcet tones of Bill Reed in the background. But Steve, you meant so much to me as the executive director because I got to do a lot of things in this organization.
Yes, you did.
Going to even be the vice president. And you were always so encouraging.
Okay, great.
And I thank you for that because you allowed us to try a lot of things and you supported that.
Well, you brought a lot of new ideas into the old stodgy bunch of weathermen that was needed. And we'll go back to when you first came to Louisville. You sat across from me on the table there and you started the spiel and I thought, who's this guy? Let me see. He's from Alabama. Is he from CVB?
Yeah. What's his weather experience?
But it all worked out. I'm so glad you did that. It was because the best meeting we had when I was executive director was in Birmingham or Hoover. It was wonderful. And a lot of it was because of you. And
Well, it's
James.
so funny because we showed up, James, do you remember? We took Steve to the Sheraton, which was our big flagship hotel. And he looked at me and he said, "Bill, what else you got?" And I said, "What I got?" And I
Did
called.
you ask for the Four Seasons?
Well, no, he wanted a hotel with restaurants around
Well,
it.
around it,
And
yeah.
back then, the Birmingham Civic Center didn't have a lot of
No, it was a little,
choices. Now we do have a lot more.
yeah.
But back then, I called the Winfrey and I said, "Hey, I'm desperate. I'm coming in hot. I got the executive director, big convention. Show me what you got." And he pulled up in the parking lot. We didn't even go in the building. He pulled up and he said, "I'll take it."
And it was great.
But-
It was the best meeting we had, when I was executive director, by far.
Yeah.
By far.
Well, a little secret, he told us, he said, Bill, you're up against San Antonio. And I'm like, I know a little bit about San Antonio. They have a river walk. And I'm like, okay, we're in big trouble. But we won because of our enthusiasm.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And James's enthusiasm and Jim
That's right.
Stefkovich.
That's really what makes a conference.
Oh,
And,
it was,
Jazzed up about it, you got it.
and we tried really, really hard, and I think we
yeah, you
succeeded.
did.
but-
And also you're very fortunate that, because the following two, annual meetings, Madison, Wisconsin, and Charleston, South Carolina, the weather service people could not come
It was
because of,
heartbreaking.
and it was, but
Heartbreaking.
we had the full compliments in Hoover, and it was wonderful.
We were very blessed because we did have such a great turnout.
Mhm.
And that's right. But now go back to when you joined the NWA. Steve, what did it mean to you, and how did your organization participation evolve?
Yeah. As you know, I'm a charter member, meaning I've been a member for half a century. Half a century. I tell my wife, I'm a 3/4 of a century and older, and she gets real mad at that. That makes you sound old. Well, I am. So anyway, no, I'd always wanted to be a operational weather. I wanted to work for the Weather Bureau because I started out when there was a Weather Bureau. And that's what I wanted to do. And after I got out of the Navy and back into the Weather Service, everybody joined the AMS, but I said, geez, these are all formulas and theory, and formulas was back. I hadn't had to worry about this since I was in college.
Killed those brain cells by then.
Oh, geez. Anyway, as I say, I was,
We showed some of those today, by the way, for those who weren't here.
yeah.
Did,
We
first
got-
thing in
yeah.
the morning.
And so I was in Weather Service headquarters in Silver Spring as a very low ranked, low level bureaucrat, so to speak. Anyway, my boss came in one day and he said, hey, Steve, Jerry LaRue and some of the others up at the World Weather Building are starting a new association just for weather forecasters. You want to join? I said, absolutely. How much does it cost? He said, $5 a year. So,
Hey, hey.
wonderful. He said, yeah. Yeah, I said today, I've been a member of the AMS longer than I've been a member of the NWA and done a lot with them, but keep the two separate. The AMS has been after the NWA since the beginning to try to come in and come under our umbrella. No, don't. We've got a wonderful niche, serving the operational community. We work with the AMS very well, but don't become a part of it. So anyway, it was what I was looking for as a forecaster, weatherman.
Well, it's a different world to come here, and I love going to AMS, and many of us, all
Oh,
of us do, but coming here is like, James, what do you say? It's like you always come.
Family reunion.
That's
Family
right.
reunion.
It is like a
Absolutely.
family reunion.
Exactly what it's felt
Yeah,
like.
Bill Reed over here, I've known 52 years, that's over half a
So you can
century.
tell it's
He
felt-
No,
you nearly got him court
I
martial.
almost did, but we won't. Almost got him court.
Statute of limitations.
Yeah,
The thing
Bill
you get
can tell
back
the
then, you
story.
can tell.
that's right.
You want the story?
Yeah, we need
Yes.
the story. I think Bill should help tell it.
Yeah. Is Bill gonna be on?
Yeah, he's gonna be
Well,
on in
he'll
just a
tell the
second.
story when he
Okay,
gets
we'll
on.
let Bill tell it.
Yeah.
All right, that's good.
Okay,
Almost
I'm gonna
got
come
him.
around
But
the
Steve,
street.
you had a great story about your granddaughter and your birthday cake. So tell that story. This is good, James.
Yeah, a year ago, I turned 76. So my granddaughter, who was 25 at the time, said, hey, granddad, come on over to the house and I'll fix you dinner and you and Jeannie you and grandma come over and I'll bake you a cake. Okay, she did. She baked the cake from scratch and brought it out and there were 4 candles on it. I said, Avery, what do you mean 4 candles? She said, granddad, 1/4 century, 2/4 centuries, 3/4 centuries, plus 1.
I think she's got a future in meteorology. She's got good math skills. Steve.
I said, okay, Avery, now I understand.
Well, Steve, thank you for everything you've meant to me, to this organization,
Well,
and
so-
for
so-
being here for this 50th
oh, it's
celebration.
been wonderful. Half a century ago, I never even dreamed of this, but I'm so glad I was invited back for this, and it's been wonderful.
Well, we'll see you at the 75th.
I'll be 102.
That's good.
We'll see you then.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. You're the best.
Thank
You can check out, but you can never leave.
That's right.
I'm finding that out, Jim. I tried to retire, and as Michael Corleone says in Godfather 3, I try to get out and they pull me back in.
That's it.
Well, now I want to finish that story from Rhoda, Spain here with one of our favorite WeatherBrains folks, James. You know this man well.
I think the last time you
He's a
had,
legend. He's a legend. I mean, I hear his voice and I just think immediate legend.
And James, he's figured out how to get all these free cruises because he goes on like Norwegian, like
Yeah.
has him every year.
little bitty cruises you never heard of.
Okay.
Speed Dream, I'll plug them. They're a great cruise line.
But you know,
But you gotta
he-
work hard to pay for the cruises.
he does have to work, but you know, like keeps them out of these terrible situations. But Bill, it's so nice to have you here. You're a past president.
Yep.
Talk about your experience with the NWA.
Okay, I was in the Fort Worth forecast office, 83 to 89. I forgot, I think it was 85 when the Delta 191 crash occurred. I wasn't on duty that day. Ironically, I had been on what was called a FAM flight, where you ride in the jump seat in the cockpit, and landed on a Delta flight about 2 hours before the Delta 191. We weren't a cloud in the sky then either. It was weird. And I'd also done some case studies with a radar operator over in Longview, Texas, on wet downbursts in the summer, of all things. Ken Crawford said, you need to come down to Houston and give a presentation on wet downbursts. So that's how I found out about the NWA. 87, I think, in Houston. And Ken was a mentor I never worked for. So kind of like that talk today where they're talking about mentoring is two ways, and it's not a boss employee thing after all anyway. It's cool. Then Gary Grice and Ron Alberti were partners in crime with the modernization effort in the late 80s, early 90s. And the idea that Gary Grice had was to get Ron Alberti and me in one of the leadership positions to help spread the word on what the modernization is going to be. So I became vice president for a year, and they said, well, you got to run for president now. But at that time, I'd been selected to go to Houston and spin up an office, and I was already feeling kind of got a lot of work to do. So I talked Steve Harnett into putting his name in the hat, and he won. Thank you, Jesus. So I've been, I prefer to send staff members to the NWA meetings rather than the MIC. There would occasionally be times where the money was flush and we could send two people and I would probably go. But we hosted a meeting in Houston 3 years after we opened 2 years, 94, right? 95? Okay. Next year was Cocoa Beach, right? Yep. Yeah. So I made two in a row then. And then John McLaughlin arm twisted me, why don't you run again for president? And that was 2003. And it was very rewarding. I was very fortunate. I had a very talented council. And we didn't have any big struggles that year. It had the annual meeting in Jacksonville, which is a homecoming to me. It's where I was stationed in the Navy. And then you guys moved the meetings to September, and I'm doing consulting about hurricanes. And, you don't really want to be on the road in the peak of hurricane season. So I'm not doing that anymore. So now I could come to this meeting. It's great.
Well, it's always great to see you, Bill.
Yep.
And you just, someone we all look up to, someone who at the National Hurricane Center made such a difference.
That was a surprise job, to say the least. To me, this is just amazing. Every one of these people in here, some in a very short period, thought I just met James, for example. But I've known Steve since 1972. He was a weather officer in Rhoda, and I think he was our liaison person when we would fly the Mediterranean when I was in the hurricane hunters. And
So tell that story about the court martial. Yeah.
Okay. Steve was single, as was I, and everybody else, even the pilots that weren't
So
single.
you said this
pretended
was
to
like
be.
a working vacation, right?
It was hard work.
Oh.
We were flying 10-hour bathythermograph flights down low, and you were tired at the end of it. But anyway, we had a crew rest day, and the day before we were supposed to leave, he said, there's a great party going on in my apartment. It overlooks the Atlantic. and it's just off the base. Okay, but I've got we have a 3 o'clock go time for our flight down to Dakar. And, oh, we'll get you there, no problem, you know? I figured, yeah, they'll be done by midnight and it's 2 miles away. Sure, we'll get there. So I stopped. I have a couple of glasses of his cheap Spanish wine, and when I stop, I really do kind of have to be sober, even though I don't have a mission. It's just a transit in there. Around 1 o'clock, I'm saying, Steve, damn it, I gotta go. You know, there's some pre-flight stuff I'm responsible for. And push comes to shove, he finally realized that, you know, we probably ought to get you over there. He had a little Fiat and we were banging along. But back then, they just let him drive right out on the tarmac. They had engine number 1 turning. I was this close to missing a flight. And I was informed by the plane commander once I got on there, you know, if you miss this flight, you've been court-martialed and probably charged.
Oh, your entire career could have hinged on this.
Look at that, you know, instead of being at this meeting here, I could still be, you know, sweeping up lawn
Yeah.
clippings in the neighborhood.
All for
You could have been,
Spanish wine.
could have been pushing broom.
But yeah, and Troy here, I've known Troy for when you were at Aggieland at KBTX, and we coordinated a lot of interesting things about training stuff, and I learned a lot from you about what you do there. Louis was my boss when I was at the Hurricane Center. Louis was the best boss I ever had. A lot of people cursed him, but he backed me up. He never agreed with half of the crap I put out, but he couldn't convince me.
Show title.
He would back me up on it. It was wonderful. Kim, she asked me to speak to the students. And I said, you want me to speak to a bunch of bright kids? You don't know me, do you? You had about 500 at the AMS meeting that time. And I said, what do I think they're going to want to hear? I said, how about a kind of a career talk? So I made a talk, and the title of it was, how the hell did a C+ high school student end up running the National Hurricane Center?
So completely inspiring.
And by now, you didn't get into a meteorology program unless you're in the top 10th of the class. By then, they looked at me like, yeah, how the hell did you get there? And of course, Bill, I think I met you at the Birmingham meeting. That was probably the
That's right.
first time. And I just met you today. So you all have had an impact on my life. So that's why I keep doing this stuff. I like to come back and see where we've come, where we've gone. And it's usually positive and upbeat. Love it.
Well, it's always positive and upbeat when we see you, Bill. So thank you. Thank you for all the stories you've shared today. And
Okay. Yes.
tonight.
Maybe I'll think of something else that's beyond the statute of limitations for the next.
Excellent.
Take care, man.
Now I want to bring Troy in here along with a very, very special guest. So Troy, you were on a panel today, and Louis, please come and join us. Louis, come.
Should I be here?
James, this morning, they had a very special panel remembering a lot of special times. And, but I got to spend some time with Louis Uccellini this morning. You know, we've had him on the show before, but Louis is like unplugged right now, James, because
Unhinged.
you know, he remembers so much stuff so beautifully. So I wanted to ask him about a few things. First, Louis, talk about the initial NWA, the initial days.
Well, I should talk then about how I got in, because that was the initial. I didn't hear about it until that first interaction with Fran Parmenter, who's now Fran Holt. But and it's the story I told today leading up to the paper, right? That Fran happened to be at a weekly weather watch that I was giving. And I presented the use of isentropic coordinates, which were not available operationally. But so how to do a simple chart to get an isentropic map. Realized that cases for the week I was doing the weekly weather watch, there were these double jets, the northern jet and the southern jet, and all the precipitation was right in the exit region of the southern jet and the entrance region of the northern jet. All right. And then showed, you know, and then I just went on that this was a way of diagnosing, you know, this is 1970, five, right? And the models were just really coming out, LFM and those models. So it wasn't a model thing. This is how do you do your analysis in real time? Be able to start linking these narrow precipitation bands in the northern Midwest to this jet streak thing. So Fran was in the audience as part of the NOAA program for advanced training education for selected candidates. And she came into my office and a couple days later, and she first, I knew who she was, and she came in, she said, I need to talk to you about something. Have you heard about the NWA, the National Weather Association? I said, no. I said, I hadn't heard anything about it. And it was just being spun up in Washington at the time, right? And she told me about it, and and she said, would you be interested in joining? And I, on the spot, said yes. I didn't even know that the dues was just $5. But even back then, you're a student, graduate student, and you're,
$5 a lot.
yeah, that's still, it's $5, but it's, anyway. And I was already a student member of the AMS. So I wasn't doing an either or kind of selection. I really got to the point that I was working on my PhD. I believed in the professional societies, but she defined it in terms of really focused on the operational aspects, and I was interested in it. And all my work, all the gravity wave work at the time, the jet streak work, and later the East Coast, that all started in fax rooms. So with real-time data, with operational data, the research was based on the use of operational data. So I thought this is a natural, this is, and then she asked me, and that talk you gave, could you write that up and submit it, because we're spinning up the Weather Digest. And I was feeling pretty heady because I just got my first paper in, published. I figured I can do this, right? So I did it, and it was on the use of isotropic coordinates and the jet streaks and that banded precipitation thing. And in November, when I got the journal, the first digest, it was the first article. And I didn't realize that was going to happen. So with the 50th and celebrating the NWA, Janice and I talked at the Baltimore AMS meeting actually about, and I have all the original view graphs I used for
the actual acetates.
Actual acetates. And so I showed her, I have these, and she had other people with her from the NWA. And I said, I actually, here, look, this turned into these figures here in the digest. So there's a story to tell, and the whole thing. And more importantly, that double jet, when I got to NASA Goddard, after I got my PhD done, a postdoc at Wisconsin, I went to Goddard and we started working on East Coast storms. The first thing in the first case was the President's Day storm, and then the 83 storm, double jets. And I said, boy, this reminds me of the work I did for the digest. And so we started applying Ralph Peterson's analysis scheme to that incorporated the cross sections of ice, all this stuff that gets you defined and a coherent data set to work with. And you could actually see the lateral coupling and the divergence maximized between the two. And we did 7 other storms and you got the same pattern. So then we developed a schematic, and now we got these schematics that have wound up on the Weather Channel when they're doing the ingredients list before the 2016 storm. So all that thread started with Fran Palmer coming into the synoptic, the lab that Chuck and I had set up for doing our work with Don Johnson. And we're going to publish that in the Journal of Operational Meteorology, the sequence. So,
and then Dr. Neil Jacobs, when we were on the show and you were on the show with him, he pointed to your research as being things.
Yeah. You guys surprised me. You invited me to the show, and I'm listening to all your chat, in the beginning. I says, well, I wonder what they're going to talk about. And Neil comes on, and he starts. He interviewed me about the review paper I did in 19 for the Palmain conference. I was invited by Chester Newton to write to present the rapid cyclogenesis paper. So I worked. I read for a year and a half. I had like a stack of, and and then wrote this from the thermal theory of cyclones, which was the prominent theory in the 1800s, that if you had a low pressure system, it was because there was warm air in the core of the storm. So when I think it was in Italy where they started doing readings along the mountainsides during times of cyclogenesis, and they had a cold core low. How the hell does that happen, right? So then you go into the whole thing of the trough. They start releasing balloons. They get trough ridges. Bjerknes is writing papers on the trough ridge pattern, but he also wrote papers on the jet streaks. Back, it's in the compendium, 1951, and there were other papers written. So I built all of this into the history leading up to the 50s, where the airline industries are building up. So now everybody's going to pressure coordinates, and how isentropic coordinates was falling by the wayside. And you couldn't get an isentropic analysis operationally. So part of the paper was how can you do this using the 850, 700, 500 millibar map? And that's all in the paper. Dave Barber, who was the TA that showed us as students how to do that. And we brought that isentropic theme into that paper. Now, the surprising thing about today, and what happened here today, I asked two questions before I started the talk. I said, how many, there were a lot of students here, you just mentioned that. How many of you are doing isentropic analysis? I was believed how many people raised their hands. So I said, wow, because I expected to be nobody raising their hands. And then I said, how many are you doing jet streaks? And because nobody comes up to me and asks me about jet streaks anymore. So I said, how many people are doing jet streaks? And even more people raised their hand.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like, wow, this is going to be a great talk. I'm going, I don't care about the half-hour time limit now. I'm going full bore.
Blowing through this bad.
I just blew right through it.
And an amazing job, I might.
Yeah, thanks.
Now, when you were at Wisconsin, you were leaving to go to Goddard, and Bernard Sumi did not want you to go.
Right.
And you told me an amazing story this afternoon that gave me chills.
Yep.
So tell that story and how a great man like him completely pivoted when he realized he was going to lose you. And talk about that for a second.
Yeah, so part of the, because we were talking about this period in 75 to 77, 78, and how it was this transition for me. And I was very interested in doing the research, and I got 3 papers out of my PhD working on that as opposed, I did all my degrees at Wisconsin, and then I had this PhD thesis that I got 3 papers out of, right? And one of them co-authorship with Ralph Peterson, because phenomenal trajectory schemes and analysis schemes that he came up with the analysis scheme on his own. It was just amazing the work we were doing. And my thought was maybe I'll stay at Wisconsin, be a professor or something like that. And all the professors were telling me, no, you got to get out. You got to go out. You got to get into the cold, cool. And he says, Dave Houghton, Professor Houghton said, by the way, you start interacting with people outside their school. Nobody's doing this jet streak work. Good luck. Thing. You're gonna have to. He was being brutally frank.
Yeah.
Don't assume that everybody's doing the stuff that we're doing here. So the NASA lab, the Goddard Laboratory for Atmospheric Science under Dave Atlas, a very famous meteorologist, was spinning up, and I got asked if I'd be interested, and then eventually I went there rather than staying at Wisconsin. What I didn't realize is that for a large period, like when I was working with Charlie Anderson on my master's degrees, Vern Sumi was supporting Charlie's graduate students. So I was in the office of Vern's students. So I got to know Vern Sumi he thought I was one of his students. I didn't realize that at the time, but that's what was going on. So by the time you go through into 77, I do the 1-year postdoc, and I get the offer from Goddard. I accepted it. I was about ready to accept it. He calls me up at home at about 9:30 at night and says, is there anything I can do to convince you to go to stay here at Wisconsin, stay at the Space Science and Engineering Center? And he offered me a raise. I'm not going into all the details of that. And I said, no, sir. I made up my mind. I really want to give this new lab a chance. And it turned my life around actually between Dave Atlas and Joanne Simpson, but that's another story. He really pressed again, on that call. And now it's getting to be like 10 o'clock at night. So he gets kind of grumpy. And he says, all right, you be in my office at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Okay. I said, yes, sir. So hung up the phone. And my wife asked me, who was that? Professor Sumi. She knew, I mean, I've been there like 9 years, 10 years, and Susie and I were married 7 years by that time. And she knew who Sumi was. And I said, he wants to see me in his office. Now, the word was she never made an appointment with Sumi, and then she went through a secretary, Vicky, right? Miss Vicky. So I go up there. I made sure I was in front of that door at 5 minutes to 9. I was sitting on a chair. I pulled it out of the room, sitting. Vicky comes up and goes, what are you doing here? And I said, I got an appointment with Professor Sumi at 9 o'clock. She says, no, you don't. And I says, oh, yes, I do. He called me up at 9:30, 10 o'clock. And she says, he's not even up that late. I said, well, I'm telling you, he called me and he told me to be here. I'm here.
Love it.
She's yelling at me, right? When Sumi comes around the corner, from the elevator, walks, right, just opens up the door, tells me, come on in. And she's just standing there, closes the door, right? So I didn't know what the hell was going to happen. I really didn't know. And I thought I was going to get skinned alive. We're in the 10th story. Am I going to get thrown out the window? And he didn't want to lose. He did not want me to go to Goddard because Goddard was his competition for the use of the Vaz sounder and all that. And they were working with the Marshall group, not the Goddard, right? So that's how I got to know about Marshall Space Flight Center, right? And that there was meteorology in northern Alabama. That was through the interactions during my postdoc, like that. So he said, well, look, I understand you're going to Goddard. Fine. He says, I want to tell you how to manage yourself and your career in a federal laboratory. And one of the things he told me was, you spend 20% of your time on management because nobody cares about you but you. It's going to be, and it's in these federal labs, it's every scientist for himself. So you figure the system out, figure out headquarters when nobody else wants to go to headquarters. You go to headquarters. All right. He came in. So sure enough, there was this big scrum going on between Jim Dodge and Marshall and Goddard Space Flight Center. Dave Atlas didn't do anything to help calm the waters. So when there was, hey, you got to go down and brief headquarters on this was before Joanne got there, on what severe weather is doing. Who wants to go down there? I raised my hand. And, it was not easy. And NASA headquarters is a rough place. I didn't work down there, but I went back and forth and interacted and made sure they understood what we were doing. And then Joanne came in and I wouldn't call it advice. I just suggested, you spend a lot of time with Jim Dodge because he is the program manager and the headquarters. And she did. She wound up the head of the TRIM project. But one of the things that came out of that with Jim Dodge is I was the one arguing for the 3-hourly soundings for the Gale experiment. And the NSF and other people wouldn't do it. They said, Louis, you're arguing for it, get it from NASA. And Jim just watched during these meetings. He didn't say anything. Then he called me up in the office and he goes, you got your $300,000. And I go, Jim, I actually, yes, Jim, this is you, right? And he said, yeah. And then he told me it's because, first of all, he understood how passionate I was about it. He listened to all the reasons we needed. It turned out to be good reasons to have the 3-hourly data. It is no such thing as changes happening over 12 hours. It happens over 2 or 3 hours during that 12. That's what we learned. We learned that from the AVA experiment that was run out of Marshall. It's the same message. And, and that helped me understand that, the difference between headquarters and the lab itself, that there's useful functions. And it was a big lesson for me that helped me along in my career. I didn't run away from the management. I didn't compromise science. I didn't understand operations. By the way, I was writing R2O papers. I was ready to publish this, and Jim Hoke is the one who tapped me on the shoulder and said, Louis, maybe you ought to do a little bit of O before you're writing R2O, okay? And so that's why I went over to the weather service, that and the modernization in 1989. And that's, I had a similar experience with the head of Goddard, called me in. Is there anything I can say to change your mind to go to the weather service? I said, no. And then he spent an hour with me, the whole head of Goddard spent an hour with me on the satellite data and what we're doing with it and how we're going to use it in the weather service. It was same kind of thing. So that thing with Sumi, I mean, he was a great, great engineer. He had always had a swarm of people around him. He always did his initial plans on a napkin. He had a napkin on his table at all times. And he would write stuff on a napkin and give it to his engineers and they come back with a plan. But he cared. He really cared. So.
And that was obvious. And
Yeah.
look what happened.
Yep. Yep. And Vicky never talked to me again.
Ah,
She really annoyed as hell. And I said, it wasn't my fault. It
No.
wasn't my fault.
But Louis, thank you for that. But talk to James for a moment because you enjoyed the session yesterday.
Yeah.
You wanted to talk to James for a second.
Yeah. So it was an exciting session. I learned a lot from that. And there were reasons, I was sitting there as part of the thinking in terms of, I wasn't a big fan of social media when it was introduced and the thing. I didn't understand the outreach, the force multiplier nature of social media. I didn't understand it. Once I got to understand it, I actually had to have a vote. I voted against it. And then, on the corporate board of the Weather Service. And then I, changed my mind, after I saw what it could do. But I was kind of worried about other things and I don't think people were really explaining the pros and cons. This is something I learned from Jack Kelly.
Yep.
When you get a briefing, there are pros for everything, but there are also cons. And that's what I was thinking last night, but also realizing that there is an interest to do the right thing with this, because I've been on the other end of these crackpots that, wanna, they used to send in films of themselves doing a lecture of something, and then we were supposed to write comments back to it, it's like, wow. And the first interactions with people on, that were streaming stuff were not positive. Okay.
Yeah.
But I was listening last night and I was turned around. I was actually turning around anyway on this because decisions, what I learned as the director of the Weather Service, as a, just a basic tenet is that the decisions for public safety are made at the local levels.
Yeah.
And that's what Weather Rating Nation was all about. It was to get the information, consistency. And this was Craig Fugate saying consistent information. Craig and I agreed on a lot of things about the decision. I learned a lot from him on this decision at the local levels. But the consistency is always the issue with decision making, because if they're shopping around for a forecast and just wanting to hear the best news story and then base the decision on that, that's still an issue, right? So I was really, I listened very carefully during that session and saw that this is really getting it down to the local level. I mean, you could say that it's federal, state, and county, and by the time you get to the county, you're at the local level, but you're not. Because within that county, you're going to get different decision processes. You're going to get different key decision points. And I was literally blown away by what everybody was doing up there and what you find yourself in now. I guess you don't need any sleep at all, because I thought you guys would do this, but
I'm only 22 years old. This is what you look like when you never sleep, right here.
Yeah. So, but I just wanted you to know, I thought there was going to be some kind of discussion afterwards, but there really wasn't. And I didn't have a chance to talk to you before you left. So I just wanted you to hear that you, as usual, you had an impact on me. That part of the panel, as everybody on that panel, it was really, really impressive, I thought. So I just thought you'd want to hear that.
Your leadership is just tremendous in the Weather Service, Louis, and you're always forward thinking and you're always visionary. And at this phase of the communication process in society, we have to be forward thinking. We have to be visionary, and we will never go back to ABC, CBS, NBC at 6 o'clock again. Those products will probably still be there, but most people don't consume that anymore, and we have to change with them, and we have to be where the people are that we serve. And Louis, they're on Facebook, they're on YouTube, they're on these platforms where some of these younger people are excellent at what they do. I'm an old guy, I'm not the best at reaching people, but those younger people are. And what that was, it was an effort to bring them into the IWT process. And let's hear from them and let's talk with them and let's establish a relationship with them because they have more audience in most cases than the Weather Channel or Fox Weather.
Right. And when I was director of the Weather Service and we had the impact-based decision support services, there were emergency managers that would tell me, I'm also buying private sector. And I said, fine. I never had a problem with that because I understood that their decisions, I mean, they're go, no-go decisions. They gotta have that whole spectrum. And if they're buying into something that's giving them the road temperatures and all that, that we weren't allowed to do, right? That was one of the things or that they wanted to make sure that they understood what was actually going on in specific areas because the population density in those areas is what drove different decisions. Okay. That's what I was thinking about as they were, giving these examples, these specific neighborhoods this is the way they make the decisions. And that's what we got to learn, through this Weather Ready Nation effort and Craig Fugate would always say, first responders, the people think that the local officials are the first responders. The next door neighbor could be the first responder for the house that blew down when their house didn't, right? And this is all really plays right into what I saw as developing and a much more, I would say, not completely organized, but it is more organized than I realized and more dedicated to the same message as the Weather Ready Nation ambassadors. So one of the things I said on the bus last night was to the folks who were on that, there were several on the bus that came over was, are you Weather Ready Nation ambassadors? And two of them were. I said, well, you've signed something already, saying that you're committed to what the Weather Service is doing. So maybe use that to get on the chat, I mean, find something to make it happen now, not come up with the process that will certify, because I realized that this was really important stuff and you don't want to wait. You want to see how you can facilitate this. I think this is really something that was really, I think it's really important and it's the next step into the future.
Louis,
And we've started a process, Troy. So it's a process of bringing digital folks into the fold, and that started the process yesterday.
Well, I believe that session yesterday was truly transitional for us because it was the first time we've had the chance to be in all, and I think people were shocked by the fact we could all be in the room together and do that.
You probably couldn't have 2 years ago.
No, and I think it was transitional. I think this thing will continue to grow, and I think a lot of people will watch what has been done here in Huntsville with that. I want to also real quickly talk about Louis and go back to Joe Friday and Jack and you and Ken Graham at headquarters. And this man is a special friend for me. He always has been. He made the serious mistake. James gave me his cell phone number at one point, but I'm going to tell you, I've always thought that when I would talk to Louis, that he's telling me what I need to know. And guess what? I don't know everything. And I've always appreciated that friendship. He's always been there for me. And I'm going to tell you that in combination with the other people in the Weather Service that I've mentioned, but Louis has meant so much for the weather enterprise in this country.
Absolutely.
You have, sir.
Yeah.
And
This is a
and
treasure.
I
No,
believe in it. I believe in
Yeah.
it because I realized early on, the Weather Service needs the entire enterprise
Yeah.
to realize its mission.
right.
And, so that was, I gotta just say though, you were giving good advice on the aviation stuff and you were like somebody out there who would, hey, this is going on. This is, do you know this is going on? But I didn't expect a telephone call where it started out with you shouting in my ear, so
One
pretty,
time
it was pretty hard.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, where is this going? Yeah.
But I've always appreciated everything, and even then,
Yeah.
because always,
Yeah.
I always got to find out exactly what I needed to know, and maybe I wasn't correct. I think this meeting is great in a way. I think we've got to do a better job with our professional societies
Right.
on getting out there and marketing ourselves. There's so many students and people with interest in weather that are watching us tonight and will watch or listen to us at some point on WeatherBrains. And I encourage you, go look at the National Weather Association. Go out there. We'd love to have you as a member. And while that's more operational things, as Louis mentioned, AMS is good for what they do. They have this great society. I'm proud to be involved with both of those. But I'm telling you now, we want you in the National Weather Association.
Yep.
We want you. And look at what we offer. I think you will not be disappointed because of some of the things that you see. And I think I really found your presentation yesterday going back. I loved it when we had the overheads, the acetates.
Yeah. That was this morning, by the way.
Yeah,
It
that's
seems
important.
like
I know.
Feel like yesterday.
No,
Seems
it
like
does.
yesterday.
But this has really been an amazing thing. And I think what I tried to talk about, we were on stage and we talked, Steve Harnett is a close friend. I served on council in the
John
end of,
McLaughlin.
yeah, John McLaughlin, who's also a very close friend, is that truly this is family. These type, I'm not saying the AMS is not, but it's a little different mentality difference and not saying anything there, but I'm saying this is like a reunion and getting to see people and this has really been a special meeting. Come back and we were in Huntsville not that many years ago at a very interesting time in the history of weather
I
with.
remember that.
Yes, you remember that one. And I remember saying, Louis,
I remember looking at Jim during the speech
Yep.
and saying, I sure hope I'm convincing this guy.
but it's good to be back here and so good to see you, Louis, and everyone else.
And thank you for all the engagement.
Oh,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's my
We've
pleasure. That's why I
treasured
come here.
every
I missed
minute
this. I missed
of
this.
talking to you
Yeah.
at this event. Every student, every operational, every broadcast meteorologist, we treasure our time with you.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
I thank you for saying that. And I have to tell you, Jim, they yanked me in here to be here on time. I was,
You're missing the good hors d'oeuvre.
no, the Western Kentucky students, I was doing a whole jet streak ice chopper thing with them. I was really,
Go- go-
you gotta go talk to Jim.
Go get with the Hilltoppers. Do it.
No, we'll get back to the Hilltoppers. They're waiting on you.
I will. Hey, great
Thank
seeing you folks again. Yep.
Louis,
Yep.
Thanks, Louis.
Yeah, Jim.
Thanks, Louis. You're the greatest.
Yeah, and Jim, best of luck in your new adventure. Best of luck in
Thank
your new
you.
adventure. This is really
We're having a ball.
what you're doing. Okay.
Thank you, Louis. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to exit.
Thank you, Troy.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Who's next?
I guess
Thank you.
Becca and
Becca.
Kim.
We
Yeah,
got
Becca and
Becca.
Kim.
Kim or Becca?
James, we
Yep.
got an incredible lineup. We continue here with the hit.
All-star lineup. Star-studded lineup here.
And Jim, I mean Jim. Hey, Jim.
Hey, Jim.
I was Jim when I was little. It makes me feel young.
That's your new nickname,
Yeah.
Jim. But James, we've got Becca Mazer, who's the current president of the. And of course our own.
Kind of a big deal. Big deal.
And our.
Jim and Kim. Jim and Kim.
That's right.
And
It sounds
our very
good, yeah.
Wonderful Dr. Kim Coco McLean, who did such a spectacular job yesterday, who threatened to become Dr. Mom if she needed to.
Yeah,
But
that was
really,
outstanding.
fortunately, everyone was nice.
Oh my gosh, they were so nice.
It was almost too nice.
Yeah, it almost was. I think I scared the living
think you
daylights out
did.
of them. I think people were so terrified of me that they were like, okay, we're just going to say nothing but nice things and then we're going to get out of here. No, it was so cordial. We know that there are some challenges to work through in that space, but you know what? I do not mind having the first step of that just be a really nice, cordial conversation.
Well,
People
we
felt welcomed. They were grateful to be here.
no, and we all know
Thank you, Becca, for giving us
What-
the space.
a transition
You and Betsy.
that was because, we first approached this issue about 2 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and it was not easy to approach.
No.
And there was some division in our ranks about whether and how we should approach it. And, you know, I had looked at it very open-eyed and, you know, there was not a lot of support to my position initially, but, you know, we all kind of came around to the same idea. And now we're all kind of there. These guys have a big voice.
They do. They have
And
a huge
they're
voice.
nice young men.
What's
you know.
interesting is when you get to see them in person, I
Yeah.
think that when you're on a screen, it can make you seem so godlike. And especially when they take on this, I think you've got like, what, 200 million followers, however many people Ryan Hall y'all has following him. And when you get to see him in person, he is such an approachable, he's just like us. And, you know, there's something really important there that we need to tap into. And we can.
Immediately when they were finished with the presentation, with the panel discussion, I ran up there. You know, as president, I'm like, all right, I have this, you know, opportunity to go up there, and I have this right to go up there, so to speak. And I just was like, thank you, Max. Thank you, Ryan, and whoever else was up there. And it's just like, thank you for being here. Like, this really means a lot to us. We really want to get the digital space involved in messaging hazardous weather information to the people. And they have millions of followers, and like, what better way than to tap into what they have, their resources, and connect all of the different sectors of the weather enterprise to have one voice to speak to the people. And they just seemed so happy
They
that I
were.
came up there
Well,
and said, thank you.
I talked to
It felt
Max
great.
later and Max was genuinely.
They were so excited to be a part of the conversation finally.
Yep.
So I look forward to many more conversations in the future.
It's such an interesting thing, isn't it? That this is a role that NWA plays. And this is, I'm interested to hear what you were thinking coming into this meeting, what your priorities as a whole. Something that I really loved about what happened yesterday was a breaking down of assumptions about other people. And this is where NWA as a forum, you really are trying to bring together. Oh my gosh, it's so easy to make assumptions when we're not all breaking bread together. It's so easy to just think, oh, this person, because they've developed a new thing, they must hate me and what I've done in my, you know, in the past. And like, we all care so deeply that we almost get into a fight over who cares more. You know, it's this weird, we can so easily tear each other down if we don't have places to come together to work these things out. Tell us a little bit about your you know, coming into this meeting. What were some
Yeah.
of your hopes and dreams and purview for this?
Well, we are celebrating our 50th anniversary of the National Weather Association. So it's just been about celebrating our history and where we are now and what we can do into the future. And so, and specifically for the IWT, that's the future, I think, of our integrated warning team and the conversations that we all have as meteorologists, weather enthusiasts, weather professionals. You know, you don't have to have a degree to be able to communicate. The tornado's coming to your house. You should take cover. So, you know, you got to have that empathy. And they all said yesterday, they have this servant's heart to them. And that really struck me. I was like, yes. So, you know, being here, the 50th anniversary, looking to how we can innovate our conversations, how we can innovate the communication between the sectors. It was an exceptional panel and really fit in with the idea of the 50th celebration and looking towards the next 50 years.
Oh, wonderful. I'm so glad that it meshed, and it was such a generous offering of time that we had to do that. So tell us a little bit more about what is going on, what already maybe has happened this week, what's going to continue to go on this week.
Lots of celebrations. We are currently in the other room having a big party to celebrate the end
We're
of
missing the big party.
Jen and I,
Wow.
they just pulled her
Yes.
out, and it felt like we were like putting some people under arrest. Like, we're gonna take these
Yeah.
people and put, you know, like pull them out, and everyone's like, where are they going?
You probably can see it right now. I'm kind of sweating because I had to give probably the most important speech of the week. And it was to celebrate our CEO, Janice Bunting. And we gave her an award, the Golden Jubilee Award, first of its kind, to celebrate who she is, her service for the NWA,
And it was a total surprise.
Oh.
Nobody knew outside the board that this was going to happen. And so I'm just like, oh man, this is going to be crazy. This is going to be so amazing. And I get up there and I start the speech and I'm trying to fight back tears because I look at Janice and she's like, what is happening?
Oh my
Like, oh, I
gosh.
can't
and
look at you. I
Can we
can't look
just
at you.
say, Golden Jubilee, by the way, has been sparkly nails. Oh my gosh, I love you, Becca. Okay.
Nice.
Anyway, so Janice
Say
is so shocked.
So shocked, so shocked. You could just see that she was so happy and just honored to that the board of directors was able to honor her this time, and she had no idea what was going on, and it was amazing.
Tell us,
So I'm still sweating over it because it was just such a important yet nerve-wracking experience.
tell us a little bit about the speech. What has Janice meant to NWA? What was it that we were celebrating for her?
Yeah, her steadfast leadership, and she is always looking out for the best for the NWA. And she's she's a great mentor to people like myself, who I'm in this leadership role as the president now, but I couldn't, I can't do what I do without her help and mentoring me along the way. And she has done that with so many different people in various councils and boards and committees and presidents that have come through, her way in the last 11 years or so. And, she's really taken this association to new heights. And again, really has that passion for the mission of the National Weather Association. And we just it was so fitting as we celebrate the 50th of the NWA to give her this incredible award, to let her know how appreciated she is for all that she's done for the association.
That is so wonderful. And we have waiting in the wings, by the way. Well, we're not
Okay,
not done
I
with
mean, I can
just yet.
scoot back.
But I'm going to, and I just heard, so we have Kim Runk in the wings, who's the incoming president. He gave a deep sigh. I know this is
Come on
so.
over, come on, we'll
Okay.
squeeze.
Yeah,
We'll
let's get-
squeeze, we'll squeeze here.
We can get out. No, that's
Sigh.
oh well. Oh dear, he sighed.
And Kim is an old friend, Jim. You remember Kim, he's been on before. But Kim is
Jim.
retired now and living in
Right.
Las Vegas. And, got grandkids there
Yeah.
and is, getting to do fun things like these, some of these things, Jim, you should try, like these river cruises in Germany. I can't imagine you doing that, James Spann. But Kim also has done these amazing animations for the conference. Have you noticed that, Kim?
You did all those?
Yes.
Yeah, yep.
How?
These beautiful hand-drawn animations. And Becca,
Yeah.
comment on how important those have been. I mean, to me, they were very moving.
Very.
They were.
One of my goals for this 50th anniversary of this conference is to showcase our committees, because the committees are the lifeblood of boots on the ground and how we do business here in the association. And I wanted to get either the chairs up to say a few words or something like that. And then Kim, came across, he's like, well, I do these whiteboard videos, and Kim and I also have a long working relationship, and I've seen a lot of his artistic talent before. And so I'm like, perfect. So he went and worked with the various committee chairs to write a script. And then he went and hand drew all of the animation in the whiteboard videos to go along with the script. And they are incredible. You can check them out on our Instagram and Facebook pages, the National Weather Association.
Or on YouTube.
Or on YouTube.
Runkadoodles.
Runkadoodles,
Runkadoodles.
James. Runkadoodles. Go check them out, James.
Show title. Show title.
Doodles. Such a good show title.
Doing weather and arts.
I'm a little unusual in our field because it seems like 90% of the people you talk to, I knew when I was 9 years old, I wanted to be a weather, right? Which is great. And I always did love science, but my first love was art. And in fact, when I got out of high school, I went to art school before I ever got into meteorology.
Did you do those little things in the back of the magazine? Can you draw this?
No,
for her?
I didn't do that.
Okay.
But-
all right. That was me.
But honestly, I got into art school. I got around people who are just incredibly talented. And I had some talent, but I just thought, I might not make it in this field as a career, but I always loved to do it. So mostly just drawing and painting. So then I had a wonderful career in meteorology for over 40 years. but I've always kind of just as a hobby, kind of like to do that. So that's why, and Becca and I go back, gosh, 20 years probably. So it just felt like a way to give back in a way that was creative and different and maybe somewhat more engaging than just people, standing up there talking for 2 minutes.
Oh, it was so lovely.
Thank you.
Because
They're magical.
right, for people who weren't here, what they did was they had Kim's drawings and they were sketches, hand drawn, but then made into
You see them
animations.
being drawn.
Yep.
You've seen it before, James.
It's magic, though. I mean, it's
It is.
But, and I
It's a
thought,
runkadoodle.
Runkadoodle.
I thought a computer had to do it, but
I thought-
Kim
I
explained
have an
to me,
iPad Pro
no.
and I do a rough sketch first, kind of in gray, right? And then once I make mistakes and get it cleaned up, then you just add a layer of and do a nice clean dark black drawing, right? Then just turn off the lower layer, and then the completed drawing is inserted into a different piece of software where you go back and sort of time it with the audio and have a
That's how
computer
you-
hand.
But you actually
So
watch it
it's
being
really
drawn.
a start, yeah, but what I do is then create a pathway for the hand, so it looks like it's starting with nothing. But in truth, it's a completed drawing for each scene. But it's a fun way for me to be creative. I've gotten, a couple of offers for some paid gigs, but I just feel like with NWA and with, friends and family, it's maybe for Alabama
He's
weather.
got to do one for us, James. He's got
Yeah,
to.
no kidding. Sign him up. Sign him up.
But talk about your goals for this coming year. Give us budget.
Sure. Well, I have to say, Becca has been a great mentor to me to help sort of bring me along with the kinds of issues that she's been facing. And I mean, honestly, look, the truth is we're in a precarious situation that we've never faced before. But I think there's also hope for the future. So, the strengths that we've always had is that as Becca mentioned, there's a tremendous history of just servant heart, commitment to science stewardship, commitment to integrity, commitment to broadening our reach, to making sure that we're inclusive, not just of forecasters and broadcast meteorologists, but the digital media. Get serious about emergency management partnerships, engage with social scientists, whether, risk communication specialists or behavioral psychologists or mental health professionals. We really want to be diverse, but lean into our reputation that we really are a community. It's a family sort of spirit here. So I really just want to sort of build on that. But we are going to have to reimagine and maybe retool how we, what are some sources of getting revenue? How do we do our annual meeting differently so that we make sure that it's a value, but it's, we got to balance the value and the impact with making sure it's profitable. And because honestly, we've lost money, for a couple of years. So, but I do think this is something that it's our opportunity to prove we're resilient and to to grow, to make sure we remain true to our core values and be valuable to those who are our members. So build on what we already have been, that are our strengths, but look to how do we sort of, weather these challenges for the future, but do it together.
That's fantastic. Kim, thank you, Becca. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Appreciate
May
you
I
leadership,
ask
please.
really quickly?
Yeah.
Do you do themes for your meetings each year in the
Yeah, we
NWA?
do.
What are you thinking about for yours?
Well, honestly, those ideas.
Yeah.
As I've been, I haven't landed on it for sure, and we've been talking about it for a couple of
He's
months.
got brilliant ideas, by the way.
Yeah.
So we just got to.
I just keep coming back to what are
Which
the
is
things that are
really
really
nice.
strengths?
Exactly.
Two words have continued to come to my mind. One is community. We have a reputation for people come here and say, it feels like it's family here. It's not just a professional society. It really is a community, a support group. And I love coming here. We want to lean into that. And then the other is resilience. I think we have to, well, our vision is that we can envision a future where weather readiness and resilience among, communities is available to everyone. But it's also a challenge. There's sort of a double meaning, right? We are challenged to prove that as an organization, we can do. So I am thinking that those are kind of, how do we word that? We've toyed with phrases, weathering the future together, together toward resilience. I don't know, one community, many voices. We haven't landed on the right phrasing, but it's that's the
I'm telling
core
you,
of
they're
the.
brilliant.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it so much. And I know we've got to let you guys get back to the celebration, but a really quick thought in the times that we find ourselves in, given the challenges, has there been any explicit interaction with the AMS to try to bolster everybody, like lift all boats? Because there has been, there's been some growth through, all right, just make sure everyone knows how we're just different, distinct. In these days, there's so much that we could be fighting for together.
Absolutely true. Yeah. I'll yield to you, to Rebecca, or to Becca, what she's done, but I will say this. Alan Seals is here, and he's the president-elect for AMS.
Yeah.
So we've had a couple of conversations this weekend
Yeah.
about that exact topic. Nothing in concrete, but certainly that idea resonates with both of us, I think. And
Yeah,
maybe-
and earlier in the year, we did partner with AMS on, advocating for our members, during these very difficult times. We are there for our members. We're there for the science. We are there for the service and communication. So we certainly, especially with Alan leading the helm next year with AMS, there's certainly avenues for us to collaborate and go forward with one voice to make sure that our, here's the word that I keep fumbling all the time, our constituents.
The hard work.
That's a hard.
It's a hard word.
That, they are served in the way that they need to be served, and they're getting what they want. And in terms of information from hazardous weather and being protected and
Well,
so
that's what all of our goals.
exactly.
Yeah, that's right.
We have
certainly
mission
share
really
that.
in that sense. So
That's,
Yep.
people have asked me over and over this week, James, what's your goal with this Alabama Weather Network? And I said 0 fatalities from hazardous weather in Alabama.
Yeah.
That's
And
bottom line. That's the only metric that really counts, loss of life, preventing it. So everything else is secondary.
thank you
Yeah.
both. I'm
Yeah,
going to
having-
deputize one of you to
Okay.
find
Oh,
Chuck
yeah.
Graves,
we'll talk Graves. Okay.
for me,
Uh-huh.
if you
And-
don't mind.
And Nate still?
Nate.
If you run into
if he
Nate,
exists.
that's
I'll be on a mission.
The bearded one.
We tried. Yeah, get Nate. Well, Jen and I looked around. We did not see Nate. No.
And I'm going to ask James, and I'm not let you get away though. You have to stay because I need you for a minute because we've had Troy, we've had Jen, but I need to. You are in the hot seat next. Here.
Thank you so much for having us. Great.
I'm glad we had
Yeah,
time
me too.
today.
Me too.
Thank
Thanks so
you
much.
so much, Other Kim.
James, good to talk to you.
Other Kim.
Thanks, Kim. Thanks.
Have a good
Thanks,
one.
Becca. Thank
Let's
you.
get a minute in the celebration. All right, James A., get in the hot seat here. So
Hot
James,
seat.
Dan, were you following the travails of our intrepid pilot here this weekend?
I keep hearing Corinth, Mississippi. I've heard the name of that community at least 27 times in the last 2 days. So.
I. Well, let's just say they've never had more publicity than they've had in the last 5 days.
Mhm.
That is very true.
But so I mean, when I heard James was flying to Huntsville from Tulsa,
Private.
private plane. At first I heard he was flying. I thought Southwest, why are they landing in Northwest Arkansas? And then I realized he was flying his own plane, and I knew what the weather was, and I suddenly was petrified. And I kept my fears to myself because I knew he was an excellent pilot. But then he finally landed in Corinth, and I thought, well, no better place because Troy Kimmel International Airport is where you would want to land.
I don't think Donna, the airport manager, is actually Roscoe Turner Field, Corinth.
No,
County Airport.
not anymore. It's not.
Here for
Yeah.
this conversation.
Get over here, Troy.
Please.
You're our corner.
TK Field. TK
Fun.
Field.
Yep.
I honestly, I talked to Donna actually earlier today. Donna and I've been friends. She's airport manager in Corinth, Alcorn County Airport, Roscoe Turner Field, apparently now referred to as Troy Kimmel International Airport. You know, I worked, as some people know, and this is where we just had a blast in a sense yesterday, because I found out he was going to be overnight Saturday night.
Did you
there.
arrange for the sheriff's ride?
No, because Donna has done so much for that airport in Corinth. It's a great facility. Is our colleagues at the Alcorn County Sheriff's Office. Ben Caldwell is the sheriff,
Yep.
by the way, in Alcorn County. And I've been in Ben's office once or twice and met him in the past, but believe it or not, he called me and he goes, well, the building, the terminal is locked up. The line was closed at the time. The ramp people were not there. And he said, there's a note in the front door that you can call this number, non-emergency number at the Alcorn County Sheriff's Office, and they'll provide you a ride to the Hampton Inn. In this case, I recommended that.
I asked for the Troy Kimmel suite.
Yeah, well, yeah. But what's so funny about that rang a bell is I worked as a dispatcher. We called it desk sergeant back in the days at the Alcorn County Sheriff's Office in 1978 and 79. I worked with the sheriff's office at the time, and our chief at that point was a friend of my dad's, actually. So it was just ironic that he is, or ironical, as we say in South Austin, that he gets a ride in the back of the patrol car to the Hampton Inn to spend the night. And Donna has set that up. They have a courtesy vehicle, but it's available only when the building is open.
Somebody got to give us a key.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm not going to demonstrate my East Tulsa ability and hotwire that sucker.
Yeah. I was going to ask if that was the last time you'd been in the back of a cage patrol car, but that's recently.
That I remember.
Okay, I got you.
Well, I think the ironical thing is that your passenger finally looked up after so many hours and said, we could have driven and been there quicker.
Yeah. We had lots of good, we had stopped in Russellville, Arkansas, then stopped in Jackson, Tennessee, waiting for the weather, and decided we could fish our way down maybe to Tupelo, back around to Coleman, because Coleman was VFR. But as we got further south into Tupelo, said, no, this is getting worse. The ceiling's getting lower.
Well, you got to be honest with the ASOS in Tupelo. The automated, it was out of service completely. It had been that way for a little bit. And I think the technicians over in Memphis have gotten that going again now. But
oh, great.
But you know, it was out of service that day. But couldn't have thought, I mean, it meant a lot that you got a chance to fly through Corinth, Alcorn County Airport, Roscoe Turner.
So we flew directly over Corinth, trying to fish our way to the south to find a little break in the overcast. The ceilings kept getting lower, but I had texted Jen at that point because she was going to be my Uber. And so I texted her and said, haha, funny. I can see the Corinth, Mississippi, hometown of Troy Kimmel sign all the way from.
And it's funny, I didn't know that sign existed. So,
So we go about 30 minutes south and realize this is not getting better. It's getting worse. We're going back to Corinth. And Laura, my morning meteorologist, Laura Mock, snapped this picture of me sitting on the little kid's toy, looking really dejected.
Yeah.
Going, oh my
That's
God.
outstanding. That's outstanding.
Time and you're in short.
And it was getting chilly, but the Alcorn County Sheriff, the number was on the door.
Yeah.
And it said non-emergency, whatever. And I called, and man, 2 sheriff's deputies ripped right up in no time, gave us a ride to the Hampton Inn. And I can't tell if they were amused or a little irritated, but it was great.
Well, especially
service.
when they found out you were a meteorologist.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I'm
you know,
surprised he wasn't arrested at that point, but
well, and they said, we know a meteorologist named Troy Kimmel.
no, they
and if
didn't. They did not say that.
If you know him, we're going to take you right to jail.
Yeah, right. That did not happen. So,
But it's just part of the adventure, and it's been
Yeah.
nothing but adding to an amazing story. But just beautiful, clear
Come on.
weather, first thing Sunday morning, right on in here. Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Oh, we got a twofer
Nate,
now. We got a
Nate
twofer.
is here.
The bearded one. The bearded one. The
Abs-
man with the beard.
What's up?
Hi, Nate.
We worked hard to find you. Where were you hiding?
Secret places.
Oh, there you go. Well, it's also
Only the shadow knows.
to welcome panelist emeritus.
Good to see you.
Always, once a panelist, always a panelist.
Absolutely.
You may regret that in the future, but it's okay.
You can come back anytime you want, sir. We don't have many places left on our Hollywood Squares thing, but we'll
All
find a way.
Good. How are
You're
y'all?
always welcome. We're great. Nate, how are
Good.
you?
Doing well. It's been a good
What's
meeting. so
going
far.
on in your world?
I think we're all like trying to figure out AI like everybody else.
Well, I heard this morning it's just gonna take us all over and we don't have to worry about it. But I disagree.
I want to have AI do the drudgery.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
what it
like
is
AI.
to me. It's an aid in the workflow.
Right. Have
Work-
AI do the drudgery stuff and let me have the fun, creative bits.
Work
Right.
smarter,
Right.
not harder.
Right. I don't want AI creating, art.
No, it shouldn't
Humans
be
to do
creating
art.
our live forecasts. I don't get that. But
Yeah.
It made that
Doing
image for me in my presentation of
Yeah.
the six-armed meteorologist. So
that was really cute. And that was, I thought you were serious. That was right on because it really was a good approximation.
it really did. You could almost hear him say, "Watch out in Wiener, Arkansas, the tornado's coming."
James had the line of the day and nobody in the room even caught it. James.
Oh, Lord.
So they were on did you were you here for this, James Spann? When
The
Ryan
Sunday,
Hall-
the thing yesterday?
when
Yeah,
James
yeah.
said-
I was there for, yeah, I was there.
So he says he got a cardiologist and James A says he didn't have anything to do and nobody picked up on it.
I get that a lot.
It was the funniest thing of the day. And I guess I've just been conditioned to his jokes.
I'm sorry.
And I told Elle, my wife, the joke last night, and she said, "Oh, that's good. His heart was healthy."
That's what.
And I
that's where
said,
mine-
"No,
Yeah.
no,
That's where
that's
my
not
mind
the
went.
point. The point was he didn't have a heart,
I've been.
and that's what he meant." And I guess it's good it fell flat because I was the only person in the room that got it.
You're just as
Most people
warped-
have no sense of humor in there. No sense of humor. None.
amazing.
But anyway, I thought it was funny.
I think your $5 will be coming later.
Okay, great. But it has been a great meeting.
So far, it's been
And-
fantastic.
Even in the difficult situations
Mhm.
that we find ourselves.
Something that gives me hope. We've struggled in the last, really since COVID and maybe even before COVID, with student attendance.
And it's
In part because of the time of the year. We used to do the meeting in October, and then we got burned by government shutdown after government shutdown. So it's like, well, we need to do it in September. Well, should be my third class meeting, the class that I teach. And in some schools, it's even, later than that for them. So, or earlier than that for them. A lot of the students haven't had a chance to figure out funding and all that kind of stuff at this point. So I was told they were expecting something like 40 students, hoping for 40 and 60 plus, which is fantastic
and they're carrying a lot of the load.
right. And they're doing good presentations.
They're so
We're-
bright.
Right.
So
We had
bright.
one group today that came out and they gave a presentation and the questions were, dare I say, unfair.
They got asked harder questions than we asked the social media
Correct.
panel.
Correct. And they handled it with grace and aplomb. And I applaud. I actually caught them in the hall
Good.
afterwards and told them, like, y'all, y'all got some really tough questions and you handled it beautifully. But the students are, they always have been and always will be the future of the organization. And given all of the trials that we're going through, when I was doing an undergrad, a lot of people wanted to go to the Weather Service and we're still in the hiring freeze. And it's, in a lot of ways, it's that same kind of vibes. Like, we don't know what the future of the Weather Service is going to be. So everybody's having to figure out what that next path is. And we're forced to be open to possibilities that we may not have been forced to consider before. And so it's difficult as this is on a human level to see what our colleagues in the government sector especially are going through. I can't fathom what it would be like to have started an atmospheric science program 2-3 years ago with the hope of going to the Weather Service or some operational government sector job, and then to be hit in this spot. Not only do you have
the sort of political situation and the changes that are happening at the federal level. And then you have AI on top of that, what does forecasting look like? 5, 10. We had a session today. It's like, what does the weather enterprise look like 25 years from now? I'm not sure we have, how many employees in the weather service that are frontline operational forecasters? Do we, what does that role look like 25 years from now?
Maybe 15 or 10?
Yeah, like it may not take that long. And especially if you look at how some of the AI modeling performed with Aaron, some very interesting, was it the best consistently? No, but dollar for dollar on how much we spend on compute time and air conditioning and everything for all those computers, it's better value. If I'm looking at buying one of those, the AI forecast might have been a better value for dollar for dollar. So there's some really interesting conversations that we need to have. And I give Todd Laricos, who was the president in 2020, a ton of credit because he called this out in 2019 when he put his theme together for the 2020 meeting, which we had wound up having to do virtually. And he said, the shape of the game, the business is changing, and the number of people who are going to be what I grew up as an operational meteorologist. That job there are going to be fewer and fewer of those. May not never go away entirely. And so we need to really think deeply about what does the membership of the organization look like in a room where you have half as many operational meteorologists going forward, if it's even half. And he called it out, almost 10 years ago. And I was like, holy crap. But I think is a really prescient question. What does it look like for the organization whose bread and butter are weather service, frontline forecasters, TV meteorologists, and a handful of private sector folks that are
It's
here.
been very operational, yet we're seeing a big part of operational get
changed.
Yeah.
Changed. And even the parts that aren't getting gutted are changing based on it.
And it's changing. Change is uncomfortable.
Right. And then you start talking about all the consolidation that's happening in the TV industry.
Right.
The next biggest sector of NWA members, oh, okay. We really need to think about what is an operational meteorologist 25 years from now, and how do we create an organization that is going to appeal and be able to serve that audience.
What were your takeaways from the IWT yesterday?
Could have gone on a lot longer. Would have loved to have had, more
Wish we had
audience.
hours.
Right. Would have, loved to have had, more, the ability to have the audience ask some questions. I took away a couple of things. I feel like, I'll put this gracefully. I feel like a wall in some people's minds has been built up that I didn't feel like was there. Like I felt like that we went into that.
You mean it really wasn't there,
It
or
really wasn't
it
there.
wasn't there after the meeting?
It was never there to begin with.
Okay.
Or
People-
may have been there a couple of years ago, but that,
I agree.
it
agree.
felt very much like, these people are part of this group. Like we're all doing the same thing. We're just, some people are doing it online and some people are doing it on TV and some people are doing it in, forecast grids and that sort of thing. But, it felt like it felt very comfortable to me. It was a good, I left with a really, positive vibe of all that. One of the things that I think that we are struggling with, and I would have loved to have asked this question, Kim, I sent it to you, and you,
It was a great question.
questions like,
She rejected it, didn't she?
right. No, well, we didn't have
My
time and I get
handlers
it.
did. I had
Right.
handlers.
But we have, if your handlers are reading your personal Facebook messages, you need to get new handlers, but that's a whole other story.
Yes.
But
Right before she got on her private plane.
James said something really, I thought, right out of the gate when his turn, he said, we all agree that we have a problem with hyperbole and with misinformation and that sort of thing, and credibility. So in a world, used to be 30, 40 years ago, the AMS, NWA set credibility. There were gatekeepers. Well, there are no gatekeepers anymore. Like anybody can spin this up. Max Velocity's been doing it since he was 10. This is, they've been doing it a long time. There's no gatekeeper. So in a world where credibility is a thing and we're trying to maintain the level of credibility, what is credibility? And who gets to define that for the organization? And how do we figure out what that piece looks like? What is too hypey?
what is an acceptable level, and we were talking about this, James, about TV. Like part of TV promos are trying to get people to watch the newscast.
Hang on for 10 more minutes.
That's right, and we'll tell you how you're going to die tonight at 11. Yeah.
And how you can keep your family safe.
Right, exactly. I remember I just walked past Greg Fischel, who's over here, and I remember when I was an intern 26 years ago, and we were looking at some little snow event when everybody was freaking out in Raleigh, and they came in after the newscast to tape his little promo, and they're like, "Give me a mic check." And so he looks straight in the camera and he says, "We're all going to die. Your last breath tonight." and just like straight deadpanned it. It was absolutely brilliant.
Was he right?
Well, I'm here, aren't I? So no.
Survivor.
That's right. But I think that, TV, we've done some of this. Like we have to own up to, the places where we might have gone a little too far and acknowledge that, we sort of hype things and
Not Jim Spann.
Yeah. But
No, yeah.
I think, we look at like, that's a question. Like, number one, we have to accept that maybe we're guilty of what we think style does protest too much. But at the same time, how do we handle this other space where there are no gatekeepers and who gets to define credibility? It used to be there were 3 or 4 people and the weather service was doing their thing. You had 3 or 4 people on TV and that was it. Now there may be, in any given event, there may be hundreds of people covering it, both in market and out. And is it audience size? Is it traffic? Is it revenue? Is it some professional, like AMS and NWA, both with the digital seal programs?
Right.
We want to sort of assert that, but those seals,
But that's
we don't have,
gatekeeping.
right.
But we're trying to
Conversation.
Well, why not?
We're well,
jump seat.
Someone ignored my question yesterday,
So
so I'm
wait.
gonna put it
Well,
in there.
while Kim is pulling up a chair, let me ask you this. Is this not to get too theological on WeatherBrains, turn it into theology brains, but is this not a fishes and loaves thing? Because are there enough fishes and loaves to feed this market?
I think there's a difference. I see your question. I think there's plenty of fishes and loaves, and I think there's going to be 12 baskets of weather information at the end of this. I think there's how many? 330 million people in the United States. Like, I think we got plenty of people and they all need to know what the weather's going to be tomorrow. So I'm not worried about that. What I'm worried about is, I think we all acknowledge, and I think everybody on the panel will acknowledge, that there are some people in the digital space primarily, but including you have some professional Mets that should know better, who are engaging in this clickbaity, hypey, misinformation-y kind of stuff. So that's the group that I'm worried about. And how do we sort the wheat from the chaff, and how close to the line can you get? I'm worried about, and is it as I asked you the question, is it vox populi, vox dei? Is it just let the masses speak?
Is this not a perspective issue though? Because what one person thinks is hype, another person isn't. And then
well, it's less hype and more like, hype is a problem.
But what is hype?
And misinformation is another problem. They're related problems.
Absolutely.
But there's a line there. And we in the TV space have to own up to the fact that we've probably engaged in a little hype over the years. Solo un poco, yeah. But but there's also people that are actively spewing misinformation in that space.
Just getting clicks.
And how do you sort, and who gets to have the authority? Who gets to have the power in that engagement to be able to say that's information? Well, how do we know what we know? It's a sort of basic epistemological question. Like, how do we know what we know, and who gets to say that that's?
You need to stroke your beard whenever you say epistemological. You just it's an epistemological.
Very wise.
How do we know?
And in our chat yesterday, I was like channeling Susan Jasko, just like all the conversations that she and I have been having over the last 10 years. Like, it's all that panel, which is, again, it could have been 3 hours. I would have loved to have had more audience engagement, but I think it was great to have them there, and it's a great first start. And I hope, I haven't had a chance to talk with Ryan or Max or Dave or anybody, like, what were their takeaways? Do they feel like it was a good conversation?
Max did, for sure.
I got to talk with him, and I got to talk with Ryan, and they were delighted because they've been waiting for an opportunity to just talk to us.
Right.
What they said on the panel was true too. As we were doing this planning, we brought many of them in and asked them about their operations, asked them if we were to have an engagement, what would you want out of this? And so many of them just said, you know what? We have realized we have a lot of responsibility on our shoulders. We have a lot of opportunity, but we are literally forbidden from joining Weather Service chat.
Right.
We have no acknowledgement on Twitter. Everyone just assails us, and we had on WeatherBrains, Ryan, and he talked about the things that could be looked at as clickbaity. And his argument was, this is what you have to do to get someone to
get
actually
the
watch your
algorithm,
channel.
To get the algorithm.
Then,
to pick-
but his argument was that in the channel, if they actually watch the coverage, then they're getting the real in-depth information they would never have gotten otherwise. And so it's a
Bait and
bid,
switch almost in a good way.
in a good way, right? Like it's a thing of like the pros outweighing the cons in his mind. And it's funny because something I didn't say in my introductory comments, I wanted to leave as much time for possible questions. We got a couple, but
Sorry.
it could have been hours. It could have been so much better with hours.
They wouldn't answer
But-
mine either day.
But, yeah, but we had a whole thing where it was brought to my attention that if you look up the Wikipedia entry for Ryan Hall, y'all, I am his most prominent critic, apparently. It was
Dare you?
I know, how dare
Wow.
Sounds like ChatGPT.
Wow.
Horribly.
no,
No, it's just
It's-
anybody
it's
can
a
write anything they want.
misquote.
Exactly.
I was in the Washington Post and I said what we said on WeatherBrains, where I said, we don't have the research to know what are the effects of this as a whole combination in the real world. So you can do things where you do like little experiments that look at, oh, if you have a clickbaity thing, do people come away with too much fear or anxiety, or are they misinformed, whatever. And I'm so sorry, we are just I just came right in here and
Sorry, Chuck.
oh, we have an award winner right here
I'm gonna
waiting-
get out of the way.
waiting for us.
But
I'm so sorry.
enjoying the conversation.
Good.
Are
Okay,
you?
good. We'll get you a drink. So I will buy you a drink. I am so sorry. But it was so interesting. That I made this comment that was very bland. It was just, we don't know the consequences of any of this.
And you.
We all can apply.
Worst critic now.
Right. And so on Wikipedia, I'm listed as, but this is part of why the relationships are impossible, because we're all just either not talking to each other and like hearing about oh, this person said this about this person, or like it's all happening online, which is it's where people are now. We've created a whole other world, a whole other dimension there, and relationships are almost impossible to form there. And this is part of why we have to do this together in person here.
Yeah.
And when you saw those people in person and here, they were kind. They were no different from any of us. They were honestly, I saw in Ryan's face, he was actually a little nervous. He's actually kind of a shy guy. You would never believe.
And
But-
we're all weather geeks. Like
We're
we're all
all
in
weather
this,
geeks.
for the same thing. But to build on your point, and you mentioned something that Ryan said about this is what we have to do to get people to click the video to get into it. Why do newspapers have headlines? It's to
And
get
they
people
write,
to
they
buy the
have
newspaper.
written
What's
provocative.
what's
an-
What
modern-
newspapers are still there.
Yeah, what's a newspaper? Yeah, right. But that issue has its roots in journalism that's 100 years old.
Right.
How, we write headlines to try and get people to pick up the newspaper out of the newsstand.
The original
We
Hearst
write-
newspaper.
We write links, the headlines on news stories to get people to tap into the story, to click into the link. Well, now it's the first 5 seconds of your TikTok video.
Yep.
It's, the
Yes.
thumbnail image that you're putting on a YouTube
Yes.
video. It's the same problem we've been dealing with for 100 years.
Right? It's just repackaged in a new medium, but it is the practices that are emerging are actually really comparable. And that's something I really loved about the conversation yesterday was, man, this sounds a whole lot like when the IWT expanded to have two-way dialogue and it was broadcast meteorologists. We were talking with how do we think about your coverage needs, and you've got a market and you're a private sector, and like the conversation is actually the same conversation. It really, really is. Let's take down the curtain, take off the veil, and just show it for what it is. And
And then
You-
we can
you know, we've
start,
got-
then we can start working on some of the detail questions. Like at
Yes.
what level do we get a Ryan Hall or a Max
Yes.
Velocity into NWS chat? At what
Yes.
level do we, engage, is this Is this a headquarters thing? Is this comms out of DC that we're dealing with it? Is it?
It is.
It's
And
coming.
Erica Crow Che
It's
from Weather Service Comms. She she came here and
Show
said,
everybody on the class
Yeah,
what you're
show-
doing. Miss.
show the class. You got to show the
Yes.
class.
Would you like to share that with the room here?
Cut out the
Oh,
mum.
yeah. Cut out the mumbo jumbo. Yeah, cut it out.
Weather Service was here, and that was something Erica brought from leadership. They were so excited this conversation was happening. It's so sad they weren't able to be here, but they did say they are open to this is an ever evolving policy, and they want to think about how do we be intentional and what does it look like to be a member of this. We know we can't open it to literally the whole world
Everybody.
because then you lose the whole value of the
Right.
of the format. And so there will be conversations about, yes, the nitty gritty of how we do that. That's a really important conversation to have. I think something that also struck me, I thought about asking as the moderator. This is the one question I did not ask, but you, WeatherBrains audience, are going to hear it. I thought about asking, what do we do to make it so that the people who are on this stage doing like the digital meteorology folks, they're not just white dudes? Because the real the real wonderful thing that they're trying to do is gap fill with underserved populations, underserved geographies. They all came up with a heart for, we see a need that's not being met. And there's so many needs that are not being met in our country. Like you said, 330 million people. We could have alternate channels that are translating into different languages and doing live coverage that's continuous in Spanish. We could have all kinds of like people who are translating for immigrant populations who don't understand the phenomenon itself, but somebody who is really able to do it in a really rich, culturally situated way. We could have so much that goes on because there's unlimited bandwidth on the internet.
That's the beauty of it.
It's the beauty of it. And it could even be done with
someone
AI
just has to do it.
avatars. It could
Maybe.
someone just has to do it. And it's like I was standing up there as this only woman on the stage. And I was just like, why aren't there even women? But we brought in the people who are doing this, and
But
that
it's
is
only a
who
matter of
doing
time.
it.
It's only a matter of time.
But
I hope.
Well, let's encourage
Why has
it.
it not
You
happened?
started the
But you
conversation.
hit
right
it.
here.
You
We
hit it.
started the
but-
conversation, but I think there's reasons it hasn't happened.
When you hit it a
Uh-huh.
point.
I think there's
you-
reasons.
You hit it a point though. Look around the room at this group. Look around the room at AMS. It's still a dominantly white male, skews old. These are the people that we're pulling from. How are we representing? And Janice Huff
But not in those
did a
students.
talk a
those-
few years ago, I think at Tulsa, about the importance of representation and seeing
Absolutely.
seeing a
Yeah.
woman that looked like her
That's
on
right.
TV or doing weather at the Weather Service, and that encouraged her enough. And now she's in New York City. It's
That's right.
fantastic.
And she's
How do
here.
we-
She's here.
She is. So how do we get, more, a more diverse, a wider group of people, wider group of perspectives in our profession? And some of that's going to be highlighting the good work that's being done already, but
Yeah.
also reaching out and finding, are these underserved communities? How do we speak to them? How do we reach them? And how do we find people that, number one, understand AI can't do this yet.
No.
I was just having a conversation in the hallway. AI can't, you can translate word for word, do pretty well. Does not get the cultural bits yet. Does not get the, Joseph Trio Falcone did a presentation a few years ago about like, the word for ice cream in one place is a really offensive term in another Spanish dialect.
Go on.
And AI is not
What
like
is
that.
it?
And AI is not, I'm not gonna say this because the FCC will come after me. But like those are the kinds of things that we still need, passionate, thoughtful, caring human beings
Right.
But
in this.
That's
space.
my point.
it was very encouraging. The students today, there were a lot of females.
And very diverse.
And
Very.
that's the thing. I mean, it's part of
It's a step.
It's a step. It is a step. And I think that's another thing our community can be really conscious of is try to promote that because I don't know that it's going to happen on its own.
I'm
And
glad
part of
you
it
said that.
is socioeconomic. So who has the support structures in society, to be able to do things that are breaking into new markets, take risks. Who's able to do that? We
Who can afford
know,
to go to
we know sociologically, this is consistent. It is a particular part of our society. And in our weather enterprise, we care about the safety bottom line and its vulnerable populations. And I'm just going to leave with that. Let's be intentional. That's something
And
we can all do to try to encourage. Don't disparage digital meteorology. Make it that it is the future, and let's recruit into it and make sure that it is robust. And I'll leave with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kim, and thank you, Nate.
My pleasure.
So
Good to see you all.
you.
Likewise. Thank you. Good to see you around.
And
Dr.
talking
Graves,
of,
please.
talk about someone who has a passion for students.
Here we go.
Um,
There you go.
James, our final guest of the night, I know you want to wrap up here soon, is an incredible friend and someone I've always admired, Chuck Graves from SLU, St. Louis University. James, he received a Lifetime Achievement Award today, which is very
It's
well
outstanding. Outstanding.
Chuck's been an incredible friend and a great mentor to hundreds, if not thousands of students.
So, yeah, I always tell the students, I have a job. My job is to get you a job, right? You know, and I was enjoying the conversation because where their employment is going to be, it's going to be different, right? You were mentioning, I didn't realize it till, this is kind of weird. I didn't realize it till earlier today. We brought 8 students from SLU. 7 of them were female.
Outstanding.
I think the best part of
I'm
that
so
is
hopeful.
it didn't make, it was nothing unusual, right? That's
Right.
what it should be, right? It's not that, oh my goodness, this is strange and crazy. No, it was like, oh, yeah, that's the way it should be. They're looking at maybe weather service or broadcast. I think the IWT was great because that gives them another opportunity they probably have never thought of.
Yeah, do you think they take that avenue seriously?
Yes, because they are people that are looking at those streaming
Good.
stuff that's occurring during the I got my first exposure to it about 3-4 years ago. I was teaching a severe weather course. Happened to be severe weather. And they said, hey, can we bring up, and I don't remember who the gentleman was, and they were having a field day with it. This is exciting. Look at what he has. There was the toys to play with, technology and stuff. And they were all excited about it. It was like, oh crap, this is this is something I should be a little bit more aware of because this is an avenue that they can take.
We all know those.
Show title.
Yep.
So tell us what's going on with you, Chuck.
So the meteorology program at SLU is closing. It's kind of sad. It's part of the demographics issue. Number of college available students is dropping, but we have the same number of universities out there competing for those students. So our university is going to downsize a little bit, and bad luck. We have 3 faculty that are retiring. They're not going to hire. You know, that leaves us with 2 faculty. It's kind of hard to run a program that way. So the adult thing to do is realize that, okay, there are other programs that are out there that students can have the opportunity to. We just won't be part of it. And it's kind of sad. I've spent a lot of time struggling with that, to be honest. But I'm concentrating on the past, not the, we've been lucky enough at SLU to have many great students come through. I was lucky enough to get trained, I don't know if that's the right word, by Jim Moore, right? He was very infectious in his love for operational meteorology. I was never going to be an operational meteorologist. At 16, I knew exactly what I was going to do, right? I was going to be a scientist at the South Pole.
What?
The first time we've had that one on here.
Yeah. And it was like,
Oh, wow.
yeah, well, 2 things that happened that changed that. One of them is I got married.
Oh,
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
that would do it.
Yeah.
That would do it.
And then I met Jim Moore, and we were very different in how we approached things, but we were a great team. And I could see that we could develop a program that would be good at providing operational meteorologists. And unfortunately, he passed away, but.
Well, Chuck, you've meant so much to the organization.
Yep.
Talk about what it's meant to you for a minute.
So I'm trying to figure out exactly what my first NWA meeting was. It was, I don't know if it was the 25th, it might have been the year before. And of course, I went with Jim Moore. And that morning, we get up and we head to the conference. And it probably took us an hour or two before we actually got into the presentations because everybody wanted to talk to Jim. And it was like I had never experienced that type of community before at a conference. It was like they were talking, not only were they talking weather, they were talking about, you know, personal issues, how life was going. It was like, this was a family. This wasn't, you know, a bunch of academics type thing that are only worried about the science type stuff. And that was revolutionary to me. I couldn't envision that that's what conferences should be. And then I got to work with like Wes Junker and Ron Presbolinski and all of these amazing operational people, and got to see the passion they had for the field, and it was all connected with the NWA.
Well, James, this has been an amazing night, as these always are, and we had no plan, and it just turned out. So
it always works out. It was a great show, great conversation.
To Jen.
And I think all of you need to go to that big party next door. All right, go back in there.
But thanks to Jen and to Troy and to Kim and to James A. for, you know, wrangling all the guests tonight, James, and making this happen. And thank you for holding the fort down there in Birmingham.
I want to know who wants
was
to go to Mississippi with me.
Somebody's got to take him back to the plane.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you all. We're going to take a break here, and we're going to hear from Tony Rice, and Jen will wrap it up in a mere moment as WeatherBrains rolls along.
Looking beyond the atmosphere, here's Tony Rice with your astronomy outlook.
You may have heard about Comet 3I Atlas. It's been getting some headlines recently, some deservedly and a few not so much. First, what 3I Atlas means. It's a comet, probably less than about 1 kilometer across, complete with a tail, and that's growing. But the most exciting part is the I in the name. That stands for interstellar, which means that this originated in another solar system. And that 3, that's pretty exciting too, because that means this is the 3rd interstellar comet that's been discovered, like ever. It's also believed to be older than the solar system itself. That is our solar system. ATLAS here stands for Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System. And that's an astronomical survey, which is a series of robotically controlled telescopes from Hawaii to South Africa to Chile to Spain. The comet was discovered back on July 1st, when it was more than 400 million miles away. Once an orbit had been calculated, and it's an interesting one, it was found in images dating back a couple of months earlier. Now, if you've read anything that even suggests that this thing is dangerous, remove that source from your reading list. While Atlas's mission is to detect small near-Earth objects, a few weeks to a few days for the smaller ones, before they might impact Earth, Comet 3I Atlas poses no threat to Earth. It's going to remain a comfortable 170 million miles away at all times. You see, Atlas, it's also pretty good at finding things a lot farther away. This icy visitor, it's been imaged by the Hubble and James Webb Space Telescopes, which found it to be rich in carbon dioxide. It's also been observed spewing water vapor, cyanide gas, and even some vaporized nickel. And as the comet nears the Sun, the Parker Solar Probe and Solar Heliophysics Observatory will study it as well. As it passes Mars, again at a very comfortable distance, the Curiosity and Perseverance rovers will look skyward, along with the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter. The strengths of all these instruments will be combined to better understand this rare example of the leftovers from another solar system's formation. That's your astronomy outlook. Follow me at RTP Hokie for more spacey stuff like this.
This week in tornado history, September 13th, 1928. Several significant tornadoes moved through parts of the plains on this day, and Thomas Grzoulis gave one that pushed through the Yankton and Turner counties in South Dakota an F4 rating. The path was 30 miles. 4 people were killed, and there were 19 who were injured. It moved to the northeast from northeast of Utica, passing 9 miles west of Irene. In this area, an entire farm was swept away just as the family was heading to the storm cellar. A man and his daughter were killed, along with 100 hogs and 30 cattle. At another farm, a man was carried a mile to his death after he hid in a granary, which was swept up into the tornado. Another woman died in Davis.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Tony. And we will be doing an emailed segment next week, and we will get back with picks of the week next week. But again, thanks to all of our crew from the National Weather Association annual meeting in Huntsville. Just a great series of guests tonight. Hey, listen, if you're new here, we are typically on the air every Monday night, 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central. You can watch live. YouTube.com/WeatherBrains, but most of you listen later. If you watch, if you listen, we love to hear from you. The email address, it is email@weatherbrains.com. So on behalf of the entire WeatherBrains crew, I'm James Spann. Thanks for listening. Have a great week and God bless.
Span. He was like, how
What
do
are
I
y'all
deal?
doing? What is this?
I don't know.
What have I gotten myself into here?
We have lost control.
We lost
No.
control.
Oh,
of it now.
unhinged.
So far, I've got to notify the airport manager in Corinth and the sheriff in Alcorn County.
Now, Span, you said we're going to see you tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm going to run about tomorrow afternoon, yes. And I'm throwing the first pitch at the Trash Pandas game, part of the NWA
We need
little fun activities.
I did a picture when we were all here together at the IWT, and when you left, I was like, wait.
Yeah, what
no.
time will you be here, Jane? What time will you be here?
Yeah.
Probably mid-afternoon.